The soft clink of glasses and the hum of chatter filled the air as I walked into the art gallery that evening. My wife Anna stood across the room, her laughter floating above the din like a bird taking flight. She wore the sapphire blue dress I'd picked out for her birthday last year, the one that accentuated her lithe figure and brought out the flecks of gold in her hazel eyes. She was radiant, but my smile froze when I saw him. Gregory Whitman, tall, with a cocky smirk permanently etched on his face, he stood too close to Anna, his hand resting casually on her waist. The touch was light, almost imperceptible, but it spoke volumes. My stomach churned, a cold knot of anger tightening inside me. Anna's laugh faltered as her eyes met mine. She stepped back, just slightly, enough to put a few inches of distance between herself and Gregory, but it was too late. The image of his hand, possessive and presumptuous, was burned into my mind. I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I turned and walked to the bar, ordering a scotch neat. As I sipped, I kept my eyes on them. She looked uncomfortable, her body leaning away from him, her smile no longer reaching her eyes. But he wasn't relenting. For years, Anna and I had shared a bond built on trust and love. We weren't perfect, but we'd weathered our storms together. Now, I felt a fracture forming, not because I doubted her loyalty, but because Gregory Whitman's entitlement threatened to erode what we'd built. It wasn't just his hand on her waist. It was what it symbolized, a man who thought he could take whatever he wanted. I drained my glass and made a decision, setting the stage. The next day, I began my plan. Gregory wasn't just some random man at the gallery. He was a business associate. He owned a string of boutique hotels, and we'd crossed paths at various networking events. Over the years, I'd watched him charm his way into deals, his arrogance hidden behind a veneer of professionalism. But I'd also seen cracks in his facade, a trail of disgruntled employees, botched projects, and whispers of impropriety. I spent the week gathering information. Late nights at my desk, poring over financial records and public filings, revealed the truth. Gregory's empire was crumbling. His hotels were drowning in debt, and he'd been using shell companies to shuffle money around. It was all legal on the surface, but one misstep would bring it crashing down. I also discovered something else. Gregory had a weakness for beautiful women. His reputation as a philanderer was well known among those in the industry, but his indiscretions had yet to make headlines. I wondered how his investors, conservative, family-oriented types, would feel about that. The first move. At our next social event, I approached Gregory. He was all smiles, his handshake firm, and his demeanor jovial. But there was a flicker of unease in his eyes when he saw me. Good. Gregory, I said, clapping him on the shoulder, I've been meaning to talk to you about a potential collaboration. His smile widened, greed flashing in his gaze. Always happy to discuss opportunities. Over the next few weeks, I played the role of an interested partner. I dangled the promise of a lucrative deal, an exclusive contract to supply furnishings for his hotels, something he desperately needed. I even brought Anna along to meetings, her presence adding an air of legitimacy to my interest. Anna, unaware of the full extent of my plan, was hesitant but supportive. She knew Gregory made me uncomfortable, but she trusted me to handle it. I hadn't told her about my discovery of his financial troubles or my plan to exploit them. Not yet. The trap. By the time Gregory signed the preliminary agreement, he was all in. The deal required him to front a significant sum of money he didn't have. But Gregory, confident in his ability to charm his way out of any situation, agreed. That's when I released the photos. A private investigator I'd hired had captured Gregory in compromising situations with several women, all while attending business trips. The images, along with incriminating emails and text messages, were sent anonymously to key investors and industry journalists. Within hours, Gregory's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. The fallout was swift. Investors pulled out, leaving him scrambling to cover his debts. Hotels canceled their contracts, and lawsuits began piling up. Gregory's carefully constructed image of success crumbled like a house of cards. The final blow. But I wasn't done. I arranged a meeting with Gregory in a public cafe. When he arrived, his usually impeccable suit was rumpled, his face pale and drawn. He glared at me, but there was a flicker of desperation in his eyes. "You did this," he hissed. I leaned back in my chair, letting a slow smile spread across my face. I did nothing but let the truth come to light. Gregory's hand clenched into a fist, but he didn't dare cause a scene. "What do you want?" "I want you to stay away from my wife," I said, my voice calm but firm. "And I want you to remember this. You brought this on yourself." He didn't respond, just sat there, seething. I stood tossing a few bills on the table to cover the coffee I hadn't touched. As I walked away, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I wasn't a vengeful man by nature, but Gregory had crossed a line. He'd disrespected my wife, my marriage, and my integrity. And he'd paid the price. Moving forward, Anna never knew the full extent of what I'd done. I told her Gregory had overstepped, and I decided to cut ties. She was relieved, her smile returning as she slipped her hand into mine. "Good," she said. "I never liked him anyway." Neither did I. And now I didn't have to.